Hey everyone, and welcome to my review for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1 Episode 1, The Hedge Knight. And here we go again with the newest spin-off for Game of Thrones. I was pretty nervous for this one cause, like a lot of people, I was pretty disappointed in the last few seasons of Game of Thrones and Season 2 for House of the Dragon. They had their bright spots for sure, but there was a lot that could have been done better. So now we have A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, based on the Tales of Dunk and Egg novellas, including The Hedge Knight, The Sworn Sword, and The Mystery Knight. Like all of George R.R. Martin's work, I'm a big fan of these books, and really hope he publishes more Dunk and Egg adventures in the future. But for now we have the show, and after watching episode 1, the initial conclusion I've reached is that it's pretty damn good, at least so far. This first episode wasn't perfect for me, but I did enjoy most of it, and see a lot of potential for the future. Like always, these reviews will go over what I thought were the positives, negatives, my top 5 moments, the best kill or fight scene, the best line, and a final score. Although these reviews will have spoilers for the episode in question, I'll do my best not to spoil anything from future episodes. Or if I do end up mentioning something or suggesting a theory, I'll make sure to add a spoiler tag so you can skip that part of the video if you're not interested. So starting with the positives, we'll go right to the very first scene with the burial of Sir Arlen of Pennytree. For the most part, I loved this scene, and thought they did a great job reflecting how it went in the books, with a few glaring exceptions that I'll talk about later. Right away, I felt a strong connection to the actor playing Dunk, and throughout the episode thought he did a great job. I really felt the emotion of the scene when his voice broke while saying he wished his master didn't die, and loved hearing the story about the beating he got in Maidenpool, all taken right from the books. Throughout the episode, I definitely felt Dunk's innocence, simplicity, humbleness, and good heart come through, along with his naivety and awkwardness, as whenever he did something funny or silly, I just kept saying to myself, Dunk the Lunk, thick as a castle wall. I loved seeing him debate what he would do after burying Sir Arlen, as this is a great little clue straight from the books that Dunk may not have actually been knighted by Sir Arlen, which is never explicitly said in the books, but definitely hinted at, as why would a newly made knight consider selling his horses or joining the city watch, only to reluctantly convince himself he should attend the tourney at Ashford. The next positive for me was Dunk arriving at the inn. Though again, not everything here worked for me, but much of it was quite good, including the introduction of Egg, as it's quite funny seeing Dunk come to believe he's an orphan stable boy despite being the most clever and well-spoken street urchin I've ever seen. But even so, I thought their chemistry together was great, with Dunk immediately bonding with him over the belief they were both orphans from Flea Bottom. The boy playing Egg really did a great job with the role, as I thought he pretty much nailed all his scenes. And I can't be the only one who loved hearing Dunk threaten him with a clout in the ear, which certainly wouldn't be the last time he said that. I like the innkeeper as well, and once again it felt nice hearing so many lines taken straight from the books, which pretty much guaranteed this would be a well-written episode. The actual tourney at Ashford looked great. I loved seeing the crowds of people in the background, seeing lords, knights, peasants, and camp followers all busy with their individual tasks. It really made the event seem vibrant and alive, with fun and excitement not only for the participants, but also the spectators and workers who are taking the opportunity to earn all the coin they can from their trades. The next fun scene was Dunk introducing himself to the master of the games, who mockingly threatened the horrifying Ashford chair if Dunk was pretending to be a knight. I liked that the master ended up being quite nice and jovial, even taking pity on Dunk when he saw the disappointment in his eyes after being denied entry to the tourney. And just like in the books, he agreed to allow him to participate if he could find a lord to vouch for the existence of Sir Arlen of Pennytree. Not all the attempts at humor worked for me this episode, but I have to admit I laughed quite a bit watching Dunk hit his head as he entered and exited the room. I also quite enjoyed Dunk's conversation with the prostitutes, who definitely mocked him quite a bit as he couldn't help acting nervous and awkward around them, unsure what to say or how to behave. But eventually the women took pity on him, just like the Master of Games, recognizing he was an innocent and good-hearted young man who very much needed help, and warned him that they'd seen many green boys suffer greatly in their pursuit of glory. However, one person that didn't take pity on Dunk was Sir Manfred Dondarrion, who proved just as arrogant and dismissive as I expected, refusing to vouch for him and making it clear he has no memory of Sir Arlen, or most of the other knights who served his house. I do wish Dunk had recounted the origins of House Dondarrion as he did in the books, but I get this probably would have taken too much screen time. For those that don't know or remember, in the books, Dunk says that Manfred's father told the story when they were marching against the Vulture King, of how many years ago the progenitor of House Dundarian rode across the Dornish marches with a message for the Storm King, but was attacked by 2 Dornishmen who killed his horse. Facing his doom, the man was suddenly saved when a crack of bright purple lightning struck the Dornishman dead, allowing him to deliver his message to the Storm King, which brought them victory against Dorne. The king then raised the messenger to a lord, and so for his sigil he chose a forked purple lightning bolt on a black field powdered with stars. As I've said multiple times already, one of the biggest factors for all these positives is how close the scenes were to the portrayal in the books. A lot of this episode was quite faithful, taking lines straight from book dialogue, and I was really happy to see this and hope it continues throughout the season. Moving on to my criticisms for the episode, there are only a few, but for me they really stood out as negatives, starting with the opening scene. For me at least, these first attempts at humor really didn't work. To me, this scene would have been so much better without the cutscenes showing Dunk as a boy getting slapped. And of course, the biggest negative, which I'm sure you can all guess, was the explicit toilet humor thrown in. Watching Dunk dramatically decide to go to the tourney as the theme music starts to play, only to immediately cut to him relieving himself behind the tree. I think I get what they were going for here, trying to make it clear this will be a more fun story that takes itself less seriously than Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. But for me, this simply didn't work. I didn't find it funny, and it really hurt what could have been an amazing opening scene, which otherwise would have definitely been in my top 5 moments. I get that they want the tone to be less serious, and maybe that works for some people, but there was plenty of humor later on in the episode, and I just wish they had been a little more serious at the beginning. I also wasn't a big fan of the portrayal of the drunk at the inn. He didn't have a very big role in the episode, but he came off a lot more angry and serious than he did in the books, where his fingers shook like he was scared of Dunk, and seemed much more sad and pitiful as he drunkenly stumbled to bed. In the books I felt sorry for him and wished him well, whereas the scene in the show made me dislike him and not want to see him again. Finally, the last negative for me was the Master of Games spitting into the cup. This wasn't a big deal and I don't have any larger points to make here. I just thought it was pretty gross and unnecessary. Now, for the top 5 moments, I'll start with the introduction of Tenzel Too Tall, while she narrates the tale of Serwyn and the Mirror Shield, a legend from the Age of Heroes who supposedly slew the dragon Urax by approaching it with a mirror shield so it only saw its own reflection. I saw some criticism online about the portrayal of Tenzel, but I thought she looked perfect for the role, more or less what I envisioned for the character, but I'll have to wait for future scenes to make a true assessment. For the 4th best moment, I chose the Fossaway fight scene, featuring the rude and aggressive Sir Stephen Fossaway and his more kindly squire cousin Raymond Fossaway. The fight itself looked great, and they made Stephen just as arrogant and unlikable as I expected, with his insults and comments about Hedge Knights. I also liked the burgeoning friendship between Raymond and Duncan, though I wish they interacted more during the tent scene like they did in the books, where they actually entered the Fossaway tent and had a drink together. At the number 3 spot, I went with the boy Egg, proving himself a great squire at Dunk's makeshift camp, as he washed the clothes, made a fire, caught a fish, cooked the fish, and groomed the horses. I loved hearing Dunk come up with the name Sir Duncan the Tall, which is similar to how it went in the books, but what was different was that it seems he was inspired from his conversation with Lord Lionel Baratheon, who encouraged him to be proud of his height, a change I quite enjoyed. It was also nice seeing Dunk accept Egg as his squire, promising him that despite their poverty, he would ensure the boy was fed and clothed, which I imagine was the same sort of promise Sir Arlen made to him when he saved Dunk from the slums of Flea Bottom. For the 2nd best moment, we go to the feast scene in Lord Lionel Baratheon's tent. This was not in the books, and at first I was skeptical about the change, cause Lionel Baratheon was acting nothing like what I expected. But by the time they started dancing, he won me over, and I started loving their interpretation of the character. What a fun scene this was. I expected Lionel to be big and bulky, with a down-to-earth charm and deep booming laugh. But instead we got a handsome, flamboyant hedonist with a menace of danger behind the eyes. I read somewhere the actor Daniel Ings took inspiration from Jack Sparrow, and I definitely saw that come through. I loved seeing him take a liking to Dunk's simple, honest nature, and enjoyed their drunken heart-to-heart talk at the end of the night. But my favorite part has to be the dance sequence, as they both let loose and tore up the dance floor, especially Lionel Baratheon, who's clearly going to be one of the more fun characters to watch this season. And for the best moment of the night, I went with the touching final scene of the episode, when Dunk and Egg were laying on the ground looking up into the night sky where they saw a shooting star. Egg mentions that a falling star brings good luck to those who see it, and then explains that the other knights are all in their tents looking up at Silk instead of sky. At first, Dunk takes this as an insult and threatens another clout in the ear, but quickly realizes that if all the other knights were inside, the luck of the shooting star was theirs alone, prompting a content little smile from his squire. What a simple but wonderfully heartfelt way to end the episode. This was another scene taken from the source material, though slightly altered, as in the books, the whole thing plays out in Dunk's mind as Egg was already asleep. But the show version really came off well and left me very optimistic about the quality of the season ahead. Now, there's no best kill of the episode since we didn't see anyone die, so I went with the best fight of the episode, which was the intense Fossilway duel in the training yard, as it seemed like they really were giving it their all. And for the best line of the night, there are a couple honorable mentions, starting with Lionel Baratheon sagely saying, "Within every man there are many men, but that I had to do Stormlanders had always done, and if they had done it, I could do it too. You know, it's best not to agonize." There was also Dunk at the end when he realized he might be the only knight who saw the falling star and asked, "So the luck is ours alone?" But my favorite line was one taken straight from the books, and that was from the innkeeper at the beginning of the episode who understood the more practical frivolity of tournaments, saying, "Half the town's gone to the tourney, mine would too if I allowed it. I swear I couldn't tell you why. Knights are built the same as other men, and I've never known a joust to change the price of eggs." Overall, this episode wasn't perfect, but was still a great way to start the season, and it seemed like a very faithful adaptation with great acting, dialogue, and set designs, giving us a story much smaller in scope than Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, but all the more compelling because of it. If not for the few negatives, this would have been a perfect premiere in my opinion. So overall, I'm gonna give it a strong 9 out of 10, as it really left me with a smile on my face and looking forward to future episodes. So that's it for my review of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1 Episode 1, The Hedge Knight. But what did you all think? Did those early attempts at humor work for you? What do you think of the actor's portrayal of Dunk? And did you enjoy the Baratheon scene as much as I did? Let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, be sure to check out my other A Song of Ice and Fire videos related to the show, like A Complete History of Sir Duncan the Tall, which I'll warn you definitely has spoilers for the rest of the season and beyond, as well as the spoiler-free Prelude to A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which covers the history of the realm from the Dawn Age to the tourney at Ashford in 209 AC, when the events of the show and book take place. Both those videos and more will be linked in the comments below, and be sure to come back next week, as I'll be continuing these weekly reviews until the end of the season. So for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Pete J. King, Daedry Dragonswit, Delacruz the Freed, and Barian the Soft Bastard Beesbury. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.